Hi, good evening. This is Dipankar Khasnabish. Welcome you again to yet another episode of COVID Cares, initiative of Heartcrafted Foundation. Heartcrafted Foundation works with underprivileged women across the country, but specifically in Northeast India. It does focused intervention on the livelihood of the women with a goal to improve their income and lifestyle. This COVID Cares is fundamentally an attempt by Heartcrafted to chronicle some of the stories during the COVID times which had been exceptional. We all know that the whole country came to a standstill on 21st when the Janta curfew was announced and 25th when the All India national lockdown happened. People who are like us, the privileged ones, we started worrying about health, access, our supplies, food, how do we go out, whether our maids will be coming and stuff like that. But very soon we came to understand that there is a much larger section of the society who are struggling with much more fundamental issues. Where is the food? Where is the cash? Where is the money? Where is my job? How do I go back home? And it is during this time, lots of people who are Indians, ordinary Indians, who came out and served these individuals in a disproportionate way. I call it ordinary people who did extraordinary work. We are profiling some of these stories during this series, and today we'll talk to one of them, Prasenjeet Pati. Prasenjeet, or I may call him Pati because he's a good friend of mine for many decades, is a IIT-Kharagpur graduate, batch of 1990. He is he is actually founder of two companies for which he's running for a couple of decades now. He is a chairman of Afixi Technologies Private Limited and the managing director of Neuron Consultants Limited. Previously, he worked as a consultant at Fox Mondal Associates. Prasenjeet's degree had been in electronics and electrical communications with a specialization in computer science, and he had been an entrepreneur right from the college days. In the last 2 decades, he had been part of several highly successful ventures. He had been involved with IndiaInfoline, Comat Technologies, and several others. Prasenjeet's current focus is the qualitative and quantitative growth of Afixi Technologies, a web application and mobile application development company targeting the overseas market. Prasenjeet and his business operations are based out of Bhubaneswar. Apart from the professional background which I just read out, Prasenjeet has been one of the rare individuals who had been standing behind the ordinary people for many decades. I am privy to some of those. I know that he has done some extraordinary help to children who became orphaned during the cyclone in Orissa a couple of decades back and supported them all the way to graduation. I know that he has created an ecosystem to support old people whose children are away, maybe outside the country at times, and give them all sorts of support when they are in need. I know that Prasenjit was also bugged by this new political system which we all expected to come in 2014 elections. He worked very closely and spent his own money, resources, time to support one of the newbies in the electoral space and actually made a huge difference in building their technical infrastructure. Now, these are only the few things which I know. I'm sure there are many more which I don't know. So when the COVID happened, Prasenjit has also been one who was the first who came out and started supporting others. And today we are going to hear his story. So, Pati, if I may call you that, welcome.
Hi, sure. Thank you, Dipankar. Thank you. Feels very strange that we talk so formally on things, but yeah, that's a pleasant change for sure.
Yeah. So, see, I have been some way aware of some of the work which you had been doing, which I just mentioned, and I know that when this lockdown happened, it's no surprise to me that you also got involved. I am aware, based on the WhatsApp chats, which we are both part of the group. You have done initially quite a bit of work in ensuring that the migrants are having a safe passage, have food, shelter. Some sort of precautions are taken so that they don't come back or go out with. That was the time where we are all worried about this spread of the diseases, and you continue to mobilize resources last month or so, you have been extremely busy in supporting the kids who are appearing for competitive exams. So, I perfectly know that this is probably a very small part of what you have really done. So I'll not try to build on that, but let's start fundamentally with this question. I will not ask you the question we ask others, that when it happened, what was your reaction? I know that you are on the field, you are quite aware what's going on. But my question is that what was your reaction when it happened? I mean, what did you think? Because you are much more grassroots and you immediately, I'm sure, understood the problem that's going to happen.
About COVID, on the
Yes.
contrary,
Yeah.
Dipankar, I actually did not understand the impact of it. At that
Mm-hmm.
point in time, I was deep into something else. We were doing
Okay.
something you did not mention, but I'm kind of handling a lot of IT. I'm actually in the IT wing of the local party, BJD, which is in
Right.
power for last
Right.
20 years. And our chief minister is extremely focused on several activities, several welfare activities for people and all. So I was deep into that, and it didn't actually, it didn't occur to me that something so important or so big is going to happen. I did read a little bit of news, etc. But when there was a Noida school infection happened, and because I have a school-going child, that is the first time I actually started taking note of what is going on. I mean, till then I don't read much of newspapers, etc. these days, so I was possibly not much aware. And and the first thought that came to my mind is that my office is like, I have a lot of people who work closely with each other. It's not crowded, but they interact a lot. And then there was this discussion in the government that we may have to close down. The school got closed down. So it was the first thought that came to my mind was my office rather than anything else. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and then I started asking around. We have a classmate of ours, our batchmate. Uh, he was the then medical secretary, of Orissa. I took his input and figured out that this is possibly a lot more, much bigger than what we thought it was. So I was really not very, I was not one of those aware people in the field. There were people who knew a lot more about it than I did initially.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that
But
answers your question
okay.
in negative.
Yeah. Okay. So this is interesting, but of course you are so closely involved with the government. So very soon you probably came to know much more and you got involved. So, I obviously missed one part, the social part, and I like to also touch upon briefly about your professional side also, because you are running companies, so you have employees, so you have responsibility on that side, including their safety, security, financial security, survival, and all that. But how did you proceed? Did you immediately focus on the social side, or you first stabilized your business side and then moved to the social? And what did you see on the field? I mean, what did you
So
hear
it
and what did you
was,
see? The challenges.
see, the time was very compressed. Almost everything happened in a span of about 3 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
from the time that I actually woke up to it, and I was doing something about it. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the first thing that occurred to me is that if something goes wrong, then the operation, because we are, a lot of clients are dependent upon us, and
Mm-hmm.
in a small city like Bhubaneswar, most of the employees possibly do not have decent infrastructure at their residence to
Mm-hmm.
continue the business. So business continuity was one of the first thing that came to mind. So what we did was that before even our prime minister or our chief minister, you may be aware that our chief minister actually announced the lockdown before the prime minister did.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So the moment before that also happened, I actually asked all my guys to go and check that they swapped SIM cards, and I wanted them to check at home which one was the best available internet network. Somewhere it is Jio, somewhere it is Airtel, and I told them to pick up a SIM card from each provider. So this was
Mm-hmm.
done on Thursday morning. Wednesday they did this test. Thursday morning they got SIM cards, and we said, We didn't know that time that this is going to happen, that we are going to have a shutdown and all that stuff. So we said, let's be prepared before something like that may happen. So we said, we'll do a trial of 2 days work from home, you know, and we did that, and we never came back. From that day till today, no one has come back. Only thing we did was we sent some SIM cards to people who did not have their SIM cards issued, etc. So the office was the first thing that I took care of. Then my mother stays, some 30 minutes away from us. My father is no more. So she is very, very, typical to her age. She doesn't want to come and stay with us for a long period of time. She had just left about a week back. So I somehow convinced her. I said that you have to come for a few days. And I went and got her. The day I got her in with me, that night only, when I was traveling, actually the lockdown was announced. This happened, and within 2 to 3 days time, I suddenly was made aware that there is a lot more going to happen in the next few days. So by that, the state government had come up. Since I work very closely with a lot of political leaders, some of which who are personally also very connected with me. So there was a lot of confusion as to what we should be doing, and how we should be doing. No one knew actually. No one knew what's going on. Only thing that all of us knew was that something has to be done. And then came lockdown. So the day that the lockdown happened, the previous day, I got a few phone calls from some of our friends. You may be knowing a few of them also. I'm not bothering to name them, but they called me and said, "Hey, Pati, yeah, I don't know what to do. My father is staying alone, and my parents are all alone. Many of the kids who are outside and they have their family here started panicking because possibly they had seen the US scenario. I'm talking mostly US kind of scenario. So they possibly knew what's going to happen more than us. So the first thing that I did beyond my family and my office was to look at elderly, because I realized immediately that there was a lot of confusion. B, basic requirement of theirs was they were not sure how to satisfy their basic requirements, medicines, groceries, and things like that. So that is where I started Dipankar, and the actual assignment from the government side or a formalization of things took time, but I got started with few of our known people who I knew personally to help out. So I would possibly call someone who is 12 kilometers away from me to say, hey, tere ghar ke paas mein, you have to go and get this thing done for them, right? That is how it started. The first formal activity that we did was to support elders, right? Because the first announcement that happened is that they are the most vulnerable. And I had my mother. I knew exactly what the concerns are. So we started getting a group together. There was another guy. Dipankar, one very important thing is that you mentioned about the orphans and my handling of it. Since those days, I have learned one big lesson of life, that between the choice of me trying to do something and me being a catalyst to get something done, I would like to give 100% of just being the enabler, the catalyst, not do even 1% myself, because that's that's very impractical at my age and stuff. So I'm basically the one who gets things done, and also be there on the field such that others feel encouraged that this Buddha is coming, we have to do also. So there was this guy, couple of guys who are doing, they're small groups, 5 people here, 10 people there. They were trying to do a lot of things. I started getting them all together, working with them. There's a guy who is very experienced in the field. He was trying to do something. I joined hands. I actually signed up as a volunteer while having my own set of groups. I tried to consolidate them because, that was giving us a lot more flexibility geographically. Our first idea was to have a contactless support system for groceries, medicines, vegetables, etc., for the elderlies. And that's when, I missed one important thing. I think another thing that we did along with the employees and my mother was to stop our maids. Like we have typical small city syndrome. We have 3 different maids who used to come. We stopped them to start with. So initial stage, it was supporting these elders. Then suddenly we realized that we were wrong in our assumption. There were quite a few cases where we started getting phone calls where there was no elderly people, but somewhere where someone is not well in the family, the male member of the family is not well. We came across a lady in pretty advanced stage of a pregnancy. Her husband had gone to Calcutta or someplace and he got stuck. So we realized that we have to take off that, age as the only parameter. We said, let's support them all. And by that time, we had a lot of volunteers. So we continued doing that till actually government started coming up, and then, the businesses also started doing home delivery, etc. So that was one of the first things that we started.
So this is, this I think is more of people who are, having some resources for sure, but they are stuck. They may be sick, they may be old, but
Yes,
then you got involved with people who don't have anything, right? Who don't have cash, who are not struggling to have food and stuff. I
correct.
mean, which loosely we are saying migrant crisis, but it was much more than migrant, right? There's so many people who are stuck at home, but nothing to eat, no money and
Yeah,
stuff
but
like
that happened, Dipankar, a little, by the time that happened, if you look at it chronologically,
that.
by the time that happened, my first category of activity was almost getting over. We had residual, requirement
You have
because
sort of
government
stabilized
had
that.
geared up, stabilized that. Home delivery were happening by the vendors themselves. In fact, we encouraged a lot of our vendors. We told them that, how do we do it? One of the things that I remember doing was that, a lot of people did not want to risk taking material and going to the doorstep, and they're not sure whether the guy it's a fraud or otherwise. So for a lot of people, we actually made digital payments. Like we would do a Paytm or a Phone Pay, and till today also we saying that paisa. But yeah, the actual problem of people came up. The state government announced, Dipankar.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, there was a little distance, but now it proceed. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the state government by that time had already announced that the poor would be given cooked food. As you may know, Orissa is like kind of like, we have streamlined the complete machinery of disaster handling. Also, I don't know for sure, but I kind of, we joke that Orissa government has food van ready where cooking can happen inside the vans. It's a joke going around. So taking this cooked food for delivery at the uh, poorer section of the people, that was already managed by the state government. The state government already organized for that. What we primarily did was we tried to help only identifying that there is this place where they claiming that no one has gone, because all said and done, being the best of effort and intent, it was in such a big scale that it was hitting everyone practically. So we started coordinating. We did not do much. There were small groups who were doing collection of money and distributing ration. We did not do much. We didn't want to get into distribution of cooked food, like unlike the government. We provided ration. So the bigger chunk was, again, as I said, like my personal contribution was less, but what we do it, we identified places where it would go, and we got, see, there's a lot of a lot of people who are ready to contribute money, right? They just are, they normally don't do because of one of the many reasons. One, some people feel 500 mein kya hoga, I can only afford 500, that's nothing. So the amount sometimes people feel is too little, which is actually a lot if you look at the number of people who can come up and do. Second is that they have a trust issue. they feel, this guy will give it, oh, whether they will do it, kahin daru pee lega, that is a fear also they have. More importantly, they don't know how to give also. A poster comes, they don't give. But if they're standing in front of them to collect the money or do something, they're happy to do. So we started getting pledges, we could collect money. And we started, kind of giving a guarantee, financial guarantee to the other side. In the we can go and start distributing. So it was like, I would say it's about 90% or more of the government doing it, where we were only contributing to say yahan pe nahi pahuncha, wahan pe nahi pahuncha, to make sure that things were not, there was no gap between what the government was wanting and what was being implemented. That is very likely a scenario. And 10% or less was personal effort. In Orissa, unfortunately or fortunately, there is not much scope of anyone doing anything individually. The government does everything. To give you an example, within a few days, the government suddenly announced that they wanted, they created a purpose for feeding the stray animals, right? So this is the kind of work that was done by the government. We became only the enabler. We became the. A lot of times people used to call us. They said every alternate day they will come, right, for ration. So those kind of things we connected, but not much of direct contribution. See, you have to look at it
So
chronologically.
you are, as usual, very humble. So, but I also think that what you said is that because of the disasters, multiple disasters, which the government has, over the years managed well, as well as continuity of the governance, I think Odisha is probably better placed than many other. Like the street dogs and street
Animals.
animals being fed, I don't think anybody would have even thought about it.
Correct.
Yeah, sorry,
Correct.
I sort of interrupted you. Yeah, go ahead.
No. That is what it is. And then other thing that you know you have to see. One thing that I have seen often while discussing COVID is that for most of us, we are jumbled up with the chronology. We do not understand how it actually happened. You kept on talking about migrant. Migrant actually happened much later, Dipankar. Migrant happened when the transportation was allowed, which was after the lockdown, initial lockdown, right? So in between we had, before that, okay, there was something else that happened. Orissa was the first state, and I think one of the few states, unfortunately, strangely, the chief minister went on record and went on, he's rarely ever seen on media. Lately, he's at least appearing sometimes. Never comes on news, nothing. But he went on record and appealed to all the state chief ministers that, look, wherever our people, Odia people are there in your state stuck, please take care of them properly. And the state will bear all the cost for them, explicitly mentioned. And he ensured there was a list of nodal officers which was published officially, that for every state, or in some places, depending on the, I think, based on the kind of migrants that we have, multiple states for one nodal officer. But there was a proper list of, I think, 17 or 15 people, which was published. And he also said that be assured that any of your people who are in my state will be taken care of. Yes. Only I request you is, if someone from your state is in my state and for some reason we do not have information about them, please contact our nodal officers, will take care of that. Now, this is not a small commitment. I mean, this is a huge commitment. Now, many places, the people who are outside, they're what? Migrant laborers, right? They hear about it, but they don't know how to reach, who to reach. So that is where I actually, and my team played a big role, because one of my, responsibilities for the Biju Janata Dal is to handle the social media and IT. And hence, people know how to reach us. So someone knows someone, and we will get many times level 3, level 4 information that there is a group of 7 people there who are stuck, they don't have anything. But again, we don't do anything. We have the nodal officers on one side, and these were chosen officers who are, who are impressively good administrative IS officers. Huh? They're not small-time officers given to this. Senior IS officers, even some of them our age, so you can imagine. So we would pass on that information to the nodal officer, and within hours, sometimes we would get a phone call, boss, get me contact details, because they didn't have time to do so much. I mean, there's so much happening. So we became that bridge, Dipankar. We would contact them. How many are there? Where exactly are you there? What do you really immediately need? And pass it on to the nodal officers. In some cases, it was wherever we found that there were some cases where the nodal officer was possibly overwhelmed with work and they could not reach fast enough, or very remote places. In such cases, we had our, some of our MPs, member of parliaments, who are extremely well-educated, sensitive people. We contacted them. They, in turn, contacted the MPs in the local, the other states. We had in a scenario also, the finance minister herself took care of a case of a patient who was admitted, not COVID case, some other case, but he was not able to pay for the, there's no way for him to get money. So this is what we primarily did, Dipankar, where we collected information, passed it on to the nodal officers, informed the guys that, look, XYZ has been done. In some cases, very rare cases, we've also put personal things. Like I will narrate an incident. I remember there was this plumber who is based out of Pune. Orissa is very famous for a lot of plumbers around the country. So, in a particular district of Orissa, Kendrapada. So somehow, from some information, he contacted me. And, his mother had expired, his only son, and he desperately wanted to come back. So I asked him, how will you come? There's no way. I mean, even if you get a permission, etc. That was a time when you had to take permission, special permissions. He says, I will go by bike, sir. You can imagine, Pune to Kendrapada is by bike. So I kind of told him, boss, this is not safe. He called me, he said, sir, you tell me, 11 दिन में मेरे को पहुंचना है. You give me a condition, I understand you are worried. I will follow that to the word, but please get me this permission. And that was little, out of the way for the nodal officers to do in such a short notice. I called Chiku, if you, one of our juniors, my hall junior, who is a senior IS officer in Maharashtra. So he said, kar denge. Tu apna side kar, we'll get it done. So we got it done. I was so busy that I told this guy that, look, I will speak to you. We have not talked for a long time. I'll speak to you on the weekend. By the weekend, he got hit by COVID. He's fine now. But yeah, that was one incident. And this guy used to call me every 6 hours, 8 hours and say, sir, मैं और 2 घंटा 3 घंटे चला सकता हूँ सर, चले जाते हैं. And he came, and at one point in time, I had to tell him, boss, stop calling me because you have reached your place. Now you don't have to say thank you for me. So these are scenarios. There was another scenario where a small child, 5-year-old girl, we have a very famous festival in Orissa called Raja. So she was dressed, girls, this for girls actually. She had a new dress, gone to offer her prayer to the God, or Thakur ke jagah, and the diya actually, the fire caught on to her dress, new dress, possibly a polyester dress. 70%, and the problem is that the hospitals would not, the kind of hospitals which are equipped to handle a 70% burn case had this problem of COVID. So you understand that the big boss possibly are aware of what to do. But the guy who sits at the counter possibly is not that sensitized. So he is insisting on a, COVID car certificate. So a phone call, trying to understand, using personal connect to make sure that this child was actually in isolation and all that. and talking to the top guy, who immediately, the hospital authorities, the senior guy, he was very, very nice. He said, there is no problem at all. Why did she go anywhere else? Tell her that a bed is available for us here. The moment she wants, she can come back. So this kind of coordination also were done.
So this girl, any update?
She was the last update I got was that she was doing okay, but she needed an operation. We talked to the MD of their the father's office. The man is extremely. This guy is a lineman. Linemans, right? The electricity department, Joe. They climb up the ladders and do, yeah. So, but he refuses to take money. So he said, sir, aap mere ko ye kara do. I have applied for a, they have some loan from the department, which I think against their whatever. I don't really know. It was an official procedure. So I talked to the ex-MD, who is himself a great guy. He helps a lot of people. And I talked to someone else. And the last I know is that he was given that, sanctioned that thing at a very, appropriate time. I have heard from other sources that she was well. I'm not sure.
Okay.
That's one of the drawbacks, Dipankar, where we really cannot, we have to move on. If you start getting connected with individual cases, you cannot proceed. We see so much pain every single day.
I understand. But since it is a small girl, I'm sure the sentiment is same with you also.
Yeah, yes, it is. It is. And I mean, I was visualizing, it gave me shivers because I have a daughter too. And that was the same. This is a very important festival, which was also celebrated uh, by my daughter. But yeah, I mean, she was good. I got it from, a third party input. She was good. I haven't got any recent input on that.
So, this is great. Now, you obviously ran this, I mean, even otherwise maybe, but this time you must have run it 24/7, right? Some sort of call center for people to call in and all that. Otherwise, it's not manageable.
Practically, not really 24/7, but yeah, practically, there was possibly very few scenarios where we went to bed before uh, 3 o'clock. 2 o'clock was when I used to go to bed. But then again, my team would cover again from 6 o'clock. So maybe from 2 to 6 is the only time when we did not have coverage. Government,
Tell a
of
little.
course, was much more,
20%. No, I
yeah.
think it's very heartening to hear this, all the support from the ministry, the bureaucrats and all that, right? Amazing.
Yeah.
This is one side which we are blind most
Where,
of the time, and we actually have a negative impression, right? That.
no,
So, and
no, I
this is
think
what I
it's,
am hearing across the board, more or less everywhere. Within the
yes.
limitations,
And let me give you an example. I remember the commissioner of police getting onto a WhatsApp group of all the local IT companies and saying, can anyone give me a space with some, I don't remember the numbers, 20 or 30 seats to run a call center where the police people will be coming, because suddenly when the lockdown happened, a lot of real travel requirement was there, and within 2 rings you will make a phone call, the guy will take all the details and you get an SMS which is a pass for you to go. So yes, I mean, those guys have put in even more, lot more effort than we did. So it's a
no, that
misconception that
that
officers do
yeah,
not
yeah.
work.
I think that lot of it will get corrected, and that is one correction maybe we also needed as society, because some way we got people, at least I can talk on myself, most of us are so disconnected from the government in many ways, right? We are into private education, private travel, private apartment, private healthcare, and we feel government is just one bogus, sloth entity which doesn't exist, right? So now we
Yeah.
have seen a lot of, not just, here also, here or Calcutta, I've seen police doing work, and the health people in Bangalore, amazing. I mean, the way they came house to house, took note of individuals, anybody, trained us so many times. Just a quick thing on the what you are doing on the students. I saw that, but you said NEET is not on, right? I mean, is it some state
NEET
exam you are
starts
helping? I'll
from
put
no
some
no.
photo while
See,
you are speaking. I have taken download those photos, so I'll just run them. Yeah, go ahead.
so
Go ahead.
so there were two things, NEET and JEE.
Uh-huh.
You possibly are completely cut off from the social media. Uh, oh, this is our state. Yes, this is
Yeah.
Orissa. So yeah, so basically, NEET and JEE has been a major point of discussion on the social media for almost 10 days. Uh, JEE,
Yeah,
NEET
I'm aware of that.
together,
Yes.
you are aware of that. It was
Yes.
trending almost every day till uh, right from postponement demands to resignation demands. Everything has happened. So I think at our chief minister also wrote to the education minister. Our one of our MPs and VRS taken civil servant. He wrote to the prime minister. We had a lot of people who tried to convince the central government to postpone. But I think at some point in time, they being in government, they must have realized that this is not going to change.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when our CM, again in his characteristic style, he simply announced that no problem, we will take care of everything for the aspirants across the state.
Mm-hmm.
So that included, you know, trans- transportation for the students
Mm-hmm.
from the village or district headquarters, wherever their nearest point. They transferred those people to the city where their examination center was.
Mm-hmm.
Their accommodation was arranged for, along with parents in many cases, where kids were accompanied by parents.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you're seeing is food given to them,
Mm-hmm.
and all of this free. Sanitizers, accommodation, food, even in many cases, dropping. Yeah, this is possibly you see that people have arrived by. We had a lot of these engineering colleges and other places where the hostels were available. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It took a little bit of effort. You can see, oh, this photograph is, yes. You can see the parents possibly with them or someone.
One, yeah,
So yeah, so
mother.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
you know they started coming in,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, that's another picture. So they started coming in before, and they stayed there. Everything was taken care of. They had nothing to worry. uh, you know uh, their health aspects were also dealt with, such that they don't crowd. It was not like a dormitory stay or anything like that. And it's continuing also. JE main. Okay, so one of the things, I don't know whether you are aware or not, JE mains was decided to be split into more number of sessions. So
Mm-hmm.
typical number of sessions were increased, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is what happened. And NEET is going to come from next week, and next week, 10 days from now, 12th or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that is about the students. And in this case also, many a times what happens is that though the government is doing it, there are some times when some child is no one knows that the child is there in that particular place, or even for that matter, the student doesn't know who to ask. Gari comes in, from where the bus will start. There are a lot of questions that people have, and they don't know who to ask. Though the government again published, for every district they
Yeah,
published a
that I
number.
understand. However much you publish,
Yeah,
last moment, people will
but
have confusion.
people,
Yeah.
yeah, and we
Um,
have very aware people who come call me and ask me, or call one of our teammates and says, "Aapko to pata hoga," you know. So that is again what we do. In some cases, we went about. There are a lot of places. Our counterparts from the different districts from the kids were coming. They requested us to have certain small things done, and then we realized one thing, that a lot of these people got all the facilities, but there was possibly a value foreseen as someone who comes and says, "Don't worry, we are there with you." So some of our volunteers went and did that also. So that's about the students that you have mentioned.
So this is essentially this facilities are they are the people who have come to Bhubaneswar and staying in various hostels, or
No,
where are they?
no, not only Bhubaneswar. We have several examination centers in different cities. This
Mhm.
covered all the cities.
Okay. And the whole
Yes,
thing is
it's
being coordinated through your office, or that is how you are involved, or how is it?
no. My office is not directly involved. It's a government initiative.
Which you are
We
involved.
all
Okay.
pitched in. Yes, yes,
But there is a similar setup, right? Some central calling center where people
yes,
will call,
yes,
and
yes, yes, yes,
yeah, and
yes.
individually, the all the people, and then some amount of control of hygiene, quality of food, what will be menu, budget,
Very,
especially
very
this. So it's a
streamlined.
massive exercise. I
Impressive.
am sure that
It's possibly 1999 cyclone.
mm.
That's possibly did all what is happening today. In the speed at which the machinery moves is amazing. There is a senior 87 badge IS officer, right? Once I had to message him and request him personally that please take care of your health because we need you on the job. What this guy was doing, I was awake pretty late. I normally keep awake late. So I kept on seeing his updates coming all through the night. I saw the last update before I went to sleep was around 3 o'clock. This is he's the special relief commissioner. So there is flood now in Orissa. And when I woke up in the morning, I saw that there is an update at 5 o'clock. So this is the kind of, this is how the machinery is working. This is possibly how the offices are there. Motivation is there. So it's really impressive. It's really impressive. One of the calls again, one of the calls, I think I'm not sure whether we were the first, but one of the things that uh, our chief minister has been doing for a few years now is that he says that we should collect blood. So we have a special program, which is basically a political party program. It's called Jivan Bindu, right? Bindu is a drop, right? And where we collect blood. After this lockdown, he specifically appealed that there should be more blood donation camps. And he has specifically requested all the MLAs that please get as many camps as possible. So that's another activity where you have to pitch in. During this, for this JE and NET, he made a video message to all the MLAs and the civil servants that please take care of all the students of your area. So that's a big machinery that keeps working.
So, Pati, there are quite a few interesting, anecdotes you shared while speaking. This officer working through the night, the girl, the travel of this individual who lost mother. But anything else would you like to share? Which sort of, these are the moments, times where we get to hear a lot of stories of valor, resilience, courage, some sort of dignity, honesty. So anything that comes to your mind, like to share? Anything which sort of, I mean, you have already shared, but anything else?
Quite a quite a few actually.
Mhm.
So I remember, you know, I don't know whether it fits into this, but let me tell you something interesting that I remember. So initially, when the lockdown started, the police was all on the streets, the traffic police particularly, and it was summer, and Orissa, Bhubaneswar particularly, summer can be pretty,
Yeah.
So someone told me that these people are having. So we took a permission. We had to take a permission. Though getting a permission is little easy because I can connect to the right person faster. So I got a permission. We got this Amul. What is that called? Buttermilk, right?
Buttermilk. Yeah.
Buttermilk. So in the first day we went out with water bottles, and second day we went with Amul Cool. Amul Cool, Amul water, buttermilk. And we wanted to distribute it to police. That's the first time I realized that a city like Bhubaneswar has so many police on the traffic. And this guy said, sir, if you are coming giving us this thing, ये सबसे बेहतर होगा कि आप पानी दे दो. So I jokingly, I just asked one person. I said, पानी तो आप घर से लेके आते होंगे. And he told me, you got water? I said, yes, गाड़ी में. बोला sir, दे दो please. So I took 2 bottles of water that I had and gave it to him. He said, आप 5 minutes wait करो. And within 5-10 minutes, a lot of people are walking. They come and they ask this guy, sir, पानी होगा क्या? And this guy gave that water. He says, even if I come with 3 liters, 2 liters of water every day, this thing is not sufficient. And पहले क्या होता था, if you needed water or you needed a cup of tea, you could go to the nearby stall and get it. But there is no way you can get it now. So I asked him, I said, so how does it feel to be in such a tough situation? He says that, when I think about myself and when I think about the doctor, I feel I'm doing nothing. So this is the least I can do. And I don't know, I mean, the way he expressed it was something very different. He says, देखो आप भी तो आ गए. You come in a car and all that. So खुद लेके because I didn't have anyone with me. I was carrying the whole, stuff and giving it to him. He said, आप आ गए. The way you feel, you are not getting paid for it. I'm getting paid for my job, so I'm doing my job. Quite a few scenarios, Dipankar. It's possibly difficult for me to offhand recall anything out of the ordinary. I do know scenarios, of course, where family was unwell, but the person goes and does his duty. One thing I would like to mention. I mentioned to you that one of our classmates, his name is Nikunj Bihari Dhalo. He was, Bigyan, of course. I mean, Bigyan's, I know him because Nikunja and Bigyan and all were preparing for their civil services together. Nikunja's father expired, and he was a health secretary. Nikunja was absent for less than 24 hours. I'm told only 16 hours. So he went, I think, cremation was completed. He returned and he was working throughout this whole process. He continued to work. It was amazing. I mean, I felt bad to even call him and pass on my condolences. I knew how busy he was. So there are many such scenarios, Dipankar. I think it brings out the best in us. Crisis brings out the best in us. Right? So
that is something, I think that, I have now talked to quite a few, maybe more than 10, and there are these revelations. Of course, we always feel good about the country. We feel that we are helpful, but these are extraordinary situations where it is not just, I'm giving some money or some time, right? Whoever has gone out has actually played with their life. At least initially, the fear was tremendous. It was like, you don't know whether you'll come back with COVID or, now, of course, we have a little better understanding. And this support from individuals who have almost nothing, right? As you said, policemen or street side vendors or people who are distributing food to, the dogs, or, giving, I know one case here where somebody said that one day he called and said, my carpenter who is from Kanpur, he got stuck. He is not sure whether he'll get food. So do you know somebody who is distributing food? So he gave a location, HSR layout. So I knew somebody. I sort of told them that maybe you have to add one. And next day, my friend didn't call. So I said that what happened? He said, no, I called him. He said that he has actually got food, so he doesn't want so that it goes to somebody else. People are sort of taking.
Yeah. That reminds me another incident.
I think I would have hoarded it, right? I mean, probably
yes, that's exactly.
Like we will hoard. Because rakh lete, because we have become so materialistic. Let's be
Correct.
real.
Correct.
People,
right. That reminds me an incident. I must mention this since you said that. There is this group of people. Two incidents actually. One group of migrants. So what Odisha did, Dipankar, is that when the migrants were allowed to come back, the CM stood his ground. He said, "These are people of Orissa. I have no right, nor does anyone have a right to stop them from coming in. I can only create a procedure." So what he did, again, this is an unprecedented thing. He gave the right of a collector to the sarpanch. So now in Orissa, every sarpanch carries the power of a collector, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
So
Yeah.
I don't understand.
So that's a huge power actually. Huh?
Yes, and there was this group of people. So they made the schools and other places, public places, into the quarantine centers, right? So there was this group of people who were in a quarantine center. I think they were those people who do whitewashing and all that, right? Painters. And these guys went about, putting वो बोला सामान लेके आओ, कहीं से वो जुगाड़ कर लाए, and they did, and they said we don't want to have free food for nothing.
I think I read this, that they painted the whole school saying that anyway we are getting food, and
many other places this thing started picking up. And there was another incident which I must
that
remember.
Is real dignity, yeah, please
dignity, yes. There was another where I saw these videos of a sarpanch crying. The people who are getting released, the first, they came in lots, right? The initially when it's opened up, they came in lots. So I think some 15-20 people had got into this one place. So the day of release, you could see it. I mean, there is no way you can act that well, and so many people. So the sarpanch is a lady who is crying, and these people are touching her feet and they're crying, and she's giving them a gift when they leave. So there's a lot of such things,
Yeah, this country is it's no joke that such a poor country, all said and done, it's one of the best places in the world to live. Let's face it.
That is true. Yes.
Now we have seen so many other so-called developed countries showing the fangs. We know that we are so much better with so less resources, right?
Yes.
It's because of the common people, right? End of the day, common people. Yes. So, Pati, thanks. I know I don't have any other question. I know that I took a lot of time of your schedule, but it's always a pleasure, and definitely this is a topic close to your heart. So, thanks so much.
It is good that we did this discussion, and now it possibly in the workflow you many times don't make a note of it. Like for example, I completely forgot about that kid. I just knew she was okay, or for that matter, you sometimes don't appreciate it because you don't give enough time. Thanks to this discussion, I think I would give more attention to finer details.
Yeah, that's always, of course, if you get too detailed in something, you'll miss something else. But get to hear these things, and keep up your good work. I'm a great fan of yours anyway. You know that. And we're lucky to have you around. Hold on, I'll just stop the recording and see if Jonali is there. I will request her to say hello to